And we are back with the fifth and the final segment of the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this final segment, I am going to be just doing a recap of all of the games that went down yesterday in the NBA, as well as my predictions going into the games that are going down tonight. And obviously, I'm not really going to be tuning into the NBA games as much as I'm going to be tuning into the NFL games because, the NFL game, because I think that NFL game is going to be one of the best, if not the best game of the week. But we'll see because these Thursday night games, they're like, they don't really pack as much of a punch as you might think. Let's see. Oh, we have someone in the chat. Do you think Magic are true contenders? Good question. I think they can put up a good fight. I don't think they are better than teams like the Knicks, the Cavs, or the Celtics right now. So whether they're true contenders it might not be valid for me to say that, but I will say they are playing much better than what I expected them to play, despite not having Paolo Banchero. So maybe when they get Paolo Banchero, then they get into those conversations. But right now, I can't really put my finger on that. I don't really see them beating the Knicks in a series. That might just be bias. I don't really see them beating the Celtics in a series. But, I mean, they did take the Cavs to 7 games last year. And the Cavs, they are a contender this year. So it's definitely up in the air. I don't think that that's a crazy question to ask. And based on where their standings are at right now in this season, given the injuries that they have with Paolo Banchero, it's not that bad. I mean, being ranked third in the Eastern Conference without your best player is incredible. And I mean, as while I do think that the Knicks are going to be the better team at the end of the season, the Magic are actually ranked higher than the Knicks right now. Granted, it's because the Magic, they've played a little bit more games, and so that's why they're able to get more wins. But the Knicks, they're trying to figure out the chemistry with the new team that they have with Karl Anthony Towns. So I don't really hold it to the Knicks that they are, not really competing as well in the Eastern Conference as I expected them to. But regardless, the Magic, they definitely have answered the call. Franz Wagner has proven that he is worth that huge contract that I made fun of him for being. Like, I genuinely did not think he was worth all of that money on his contract. But after I saw the Olympic Games and now into this season, he's definitely earned it, and I can see why they ended up giving him all that money. And I apologize. Guilty as charged. But yeah, they could be a very solid team. I don't really think they're going to be able to contend with the Celtics or the Knicks once the season ends, but they could be in that conversation. So I wouldn't throw them out. I wouldn't completely just throw them out entirely. I just don't think so right now. I think it's a bit too early. So going into the games that happened yesterday, the Pacers, they matched up against the Nets. Pretty sure I picked the Pacers to win this one, but the Nets, they ultimately ended up winning. They won 99-90, and Cam Johnson played very well in this game. 26 points. On the Pacers side, Halliburton had only 17. The Pacers are absolutely awful this season, 9 for 14. With the team record compared to what they were last season, they've been really, really bad. They did not win a single game in the in-season tournament, despite making it to the finals on the in-season tournament last season. I don't know what's going on with them, but I really think that a big problem with them is their defense or lack thereof. I already talked about the Lakers and the Heat game. Celtics, they ended up beating the Pistons by 10 points, 130-120. Excuse me. And Jaylen Brown ended with 28 points. There was no Jason Tatum in this game, but regardless, no problem. I mean, you're playing the Pistons, so it makes total sense. And let's see. Sam Hauser ended with 20 points. Again, these role players are just phenomenal for the Celtics. It's ridiculous. And on the Pistons side, Cade Cunningham had 27 and 14, almost a triple-double, and of course, he still lost. Tobias Harris, who right now is having a better season than Paul George, by the way, ended with 27 points and 3 rebounds, 2 assists, along with 2 steals to go with that. Malik Beasley, he ended with 23 points as well. And let's see. Next game on this list, the Magic. Speaking of the Magic, they ended up beating the 76ers because, of course, they did. The 76ers did not have Joel Embiid because why would they have Joel Embiid? They only had Maxey and they only had Jared McCain, and they did not even have Paul George in this game. So this 76ers team is by far the most disappointing team of this entire season. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Joel Embiid is a disappointment. I don't understand why he's not playing in a lot of these games. I genuinely do not know because pretty sure he's not injured, but it's whatever, I guess. Jared McCain, he ended with 24 points. Tyrese Maxey ended with 16. And for the Orlando Magic, Franz Wagner ended with 35 points, again, proving that he is worth all of that money. And Jalen Suggs ended with 17 points, 6 assists, and 3 steals along with that, also proving that he's worth that much money. I mean, arguably, but I think Franz Wagner is proving it a little bit more. Now, I picked the Bucks, and once again, the Bucks, they let me down yesterday. One more time. Giannis dropped 31 points and 11 rebounds, and he still lost. Damian Lillard had 25 points in this game, and of course, they still lost. And let's see. They didn't shoot terrible. I mean, Giannis could probably shoot a little bit better from the free throw line. He did go 15 for 26, which is not really that great. But again, it's Giannis. But he should be able to hit his free throws at this point. But, what can you do? 30 points is 30 points. I am not going to harp on him for missing a couple of free throws because it seems like when he needs to make them, he makes them. Remember that NBA Finals game between the Bucks and the Suns? In Game 6, I believe it was, Giannis was like 17 for 17 at the line at one point. He wasn't missing. They needed all of those free throws as well. And for the Atlanta Hawks side, the way I see it, they really cannot be too far from 500. It's the same with the Falcons this year as well. Having Kirk Cousins, it's really like he can never, ever, ever have a season where he goes above 500. Otherwise, there's going to be a pandemic that breaks out. And you guys think I'm crazy for saying that. Well, let me go ahead and pull up the stats. One quick second. Hold on. Kirk Cousins stats. So, we look at his stats, right? Ever since mainly when he was on Minnesota, right? So, he was on Minnesota, he started out 8-7, again, around 500. Then he has a 10-5 record. This was in 2019. Guess what happens in 2020? COVID. And then afterwards, he goes back on his little stretch, 7-9, and then goes 8-8, misses the playoffs, and then he goes over to 13-4. And guess what happens to him? He gets hurt the next year. Kirk Cousins absolutely cannot be too far away from having a 500 record, and the same thing applies with the Atlanta Hawks as well. It's very weird. It's very weird, but regardless, I love Kirk Cousins. He's such an anomaly. Jesus, I almost mispronounced that awfully. But he is such an anomaly when it comes to these kinds of stats. I really don't understand it, but that's besides the point. And Jalen Johnson, 23 points, 13 rebounds. Zachary Rasacher, probably one of the worst number 1 overall picks in all of the NBA. 12 points, 5 for 12 from the field. Again, just unbelievable how bad the number 1 pick in the draft is right now. I get it. He's still a young player, and we probably shouldn't expect good things to come from him. But again, you are drafted number 1 overall. I do expect a little bit more production coming in from you, and maybe that's because the other French guy, Victor Wembanyama, was already doing this from the jump and affecting a lot of the opinions. But again, it's just it's not a good look. It's really not a good look. But the Timberwolves, they ended up completely destroying the Clippers in this game. Harden was held to just 5 points in this matchup, and he went 1 for 10, 1 for 6 from 3. And that was really the biggest reason why the Timberwolves ended up winning this game, because nobody else really came to play. There was really Norman Powell wasn't in this game, so that's probably another big reason why they ended up losing. 108-80, and I mean Julius Randle, he ended with 20. Anthony Edwards ended with 16, and there was really nothing memorable to really talk about this game because it was just a blowout. There's really no highlights to bring up. So let's go into the predictions for tonight's games, because I'm going to do this a little bit quickly because we are a little bit low on time. The Mavericks, they're going to beat the Wizards. The Knicks, they're going to beat the Hornets. The Houston Rockets are going to beat the Warriors. The Cavs are going to beat the Denver Nuggets. The Thunder are going to beat the Raptors. The Grizzlies are going to beat the Kings. Spurs are going to beat the Bulls. Suns are going to beat the Pelicans. Those are my predictions. I hope I get them all perfect because these games seem like clear-cut winners. So, but now that I say that, some team is just going to end up getting absolutely destroyed, aren't they? But I hope that I get all of them right. But those are my predictions, and that is it for the fifth segment. So thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. As usual, we love to hear what you guys have to say during the show, whether it's a hot take, whether it's a burning question, something you're dying to share. We are all ears. If you really want your comment and or question to get noticed, I recommend using Super Chat. You click on the $sign below the chat box to send in your comments and or donations that way. Or if Super Chat's not your thing, you can always use the link displayed below the ticker, gsmcpodcast.net, and you can do the same thing with that link as well. That's all that I have for you today. And before I sign off on the podcast, I got one question for all of you guys. Who do you think is the comeback player of the year for the NFL? I personally think it should be Joe Burrow, but I want to know what you guys think who you guys think the comeback player of the year is going to be for the NFL this year. But aside from that, that's all that I have. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care, stay warm, happy holidays, and who do you think is comeback player of the year? But that's it.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to